Walk into a standard Western elementary school cafeteria around noon, and you're met with noise, constant motion, and a mountain of crinkling plastic. Kids line up for standard heat-and-serve trays, slurp neon juice boxes, and race through their calories before the bell rings. By 2 o'clock, teachers are dealing with the inevitable fallout. When the glucose crashes, the behavioral charts come out, recess is revoked, and we try to ground kids into sitting still. Teleport to a classroom in Tokyo at that exact same hour, and the atmosphere shifts. Desks are arranged into neat pods. The room is quiet and orchestrated. This is Kyuushoku, a nutritional philosophy that treats the school lunch as a core component of the academic curriculum. The high attention spans and emotional regulation seen in Japanese students are built through the specific contents of their plates. The architecture of Kyuushoku is built on a specific framework called Ichiju Sansai, which translates to 1 soup and 3 sides, paired with a bowl of rice. Looking at this arrangement, you see a precise macronutrient breakdown: umami-rich miso soup, grilled fish, and simmered root vegetables. This combination dictates how fast the body absorbs fuel. The dense protein and complex fibers require serious metabolic work to break down. Refined carbohydrates cause a hyperactive glucose peak, the jagged red line, followed by a drop. The Japanese meal creates a smooth, blue curve of steady energy. With this reliable stream of high-quality glucose fueling the developing brain, the 2 o'clock lethargy vanishes. Every single calorie serves a biological purpose, ensuring the body's energy supports cognitive growth rather than fueling a chaotic afternoon meltdown. Creating highly focused kids relies heavily on the psychology of how that food is actually handled and consumed. During Kyuushoku, you won't find cafeteria staff serving portions. Students practice Omoiyari, or deep empathy, by taking total responsibility for feeding their classmates. They carefully manage heavy serving carts. They ladle hot miso soup into bowls and carry perfectly portioned trays to their friends without spilling a drop. Navigating a busy classroom while carrying a heavy, hot meal requires constant, split-second adjustments to maintain balance and safety. This daily practice of high-stakes physical coordination strengthens the same neurological pathways used for planning, focus, and complex problem-solving. Compare this to a child chewing a sandwich while staring at a tablet screen. Japanese students are taught to eat with deep intention, chewing thoroughly and engaging with the physical reality of their meal. By making children physically responsible for each other, they naturally slow their eating pace. This improves their digestion and guarantees those carefully selected nutrients actually reach their brains. This mindfulness extends straight from the school desk to the family dinner table, anchored by the concept of Shitsuke, the art of proactive lifestyle design. Under Shitsuke, there is no separate dumbed-down menu for children. Toddlers are introduced to the exact same complex textures and flavors as adults, completely eliminating daily dinner table power struggles. Inside a traditional Japanese kitchen, you see extreme efficiency. There is a deliberate absence of overflowing pantries stuffed with heavily processed single-serve snack packages. Removing that clutter eliminates decision fatigue. Kids can't graze on empty calories all afternoon, which means they arrive at mealtime actually hungry for nutrient-dense food. Families utilize the frugal strategy of eating seasonal produce. Buying foods at their peak saves money, guaranteeing ingredients are at their absolute most nutrient-dense state. A streamlined home environment removes the constant friction of dietary choices. It builds a natural baseline of calm, nutritional discipline before a child ever steps foot in a school. Look at how these elements interact: the biological stability of the plate, the physical empathy learned in the classroom, and the structured minimalism of the home merge into a single, cohesive ecosystem. Razor-sharp focus and true discipline are not a genetic lottery. They also aren't achieved by reacting to bad behavior with punishments and arbitrary rules. By aligning a child's metabolic fuel with a predictable, structured lifestyle, the chronic friction that leads to a loss of focus simply has less room to exist. In this setting, emotional regulation becomes a sustainable baseline rather than an enforced rule. Most modern mornings are a race against the clock. We grab a neon box of sugary cereal, rip open a snack wrapper, and send our kids out the door. Almost immediately, that massive influx of processed sugar and artificial coloring hits their bloodstream, sparking a wave of sensory overload and frantic, bouncing off the walls energy. When they eventually crash into their classroom seats, we expect them to pay attention. But telling a child to just focus under these conditions is like asking a car to drive straight with blown tires. Their biological hardware is actively glitching, hijacked by the very food meant to fuel them. Japanese culture has approached this differently for centuries. They rely on an ecosystem of daily habits to naturally cultivate concentration from the inside out. It requires looking at the household as a whole. By rethinking the breakfast plate, how families pause before a meal, and the kitchen's physical clutter, parents can provide their children with a daily cognitive tune-up. Elite focus is less about forcing a child to behave and more about removing the biological friction that prevents them from engaging with the world. Concentration becomes the natural result of an optimized body and environment. The foundation of this system starts in the stomach. Western science is just now mapping the gut-brain axis, but the traditional Japanese diet has relied heavily on anti-inflammatory superfoods for generations. Daily fish provides essential omega-3 fatty acids, while market staples like miso, natto, and pickled vegetables deliver massive amounts of probiotics. These fermented ingredients fuel a healthy microbiome that strengthens the physical architecture of the brain. When a child eats gut-healing foods every day, those nutrients actively reduce inflammation and clear out the brain fog caused by heavy, greasy convenience meals. We can apply the Japanese philosophy of kaizen, continuous small improvements, right at the start of the day. This chart shows what happens when we replace a typical bowl of sweet oatmeal. Instead of a rapid spike and crash, a savory 5-minute alternative like warm rice, a cracked egg, and a side of quick miso soup provides a steady metabolic baseline. Prioritizing protein and savory flavors early in the morning locks in a child's blood sugar levels. This steady energy gives them a significant cognitive advantage, equipping them for sustained attention before they even step foot out the front door. Prioritizing these anti-inflammatory foods provides a structural baseline for the brain. It ensures the biological hardware is prepared for the physical and mental demands of the day. Once the body is fueled correctly, the focus shifts from the stomach to the mind. Everyday Japanese routines are embedded with subtle psychological software. In Japan, no meal begins without everyone clasping their hands and saying Itadakimasu. This is an expression of gratitude for the plants, animals, and farmers. It operates as a psychological grounding technique rather than a simple rule for polite table manners. Taking this explicit moment to pause acts as a hard reset. It forces a hyperactive brain to stop, breathe, and center itself before taking a single bite. Repeating this action every single day rewires a child's expectations. They learn to find deep satisfaction in the present moment, instead of constantly seeking out the next dopamine hit from a screen or a sugary treat. This quiet software update helps kids feel deeply connected to their environment. It builds the emotional security and grounded calmness, the internal conditions that allow for deep, uninterrupted concentration. This internal system extends naturally into the physical space. The smart, frugal habits of Japanese minimalism can easily be applied to any household environment. When parents consciously stop buying hyper-palatable junk foods, the begging and tantrums instantly disappear. If the brightly colored, artificially flavored snacks are simply not in the house, the environmental triggers that hijack a child's brain chemistry are gone. We can replace those triggers by presenting simple, whole foods beautifully. Offering a sliced apple or lightly salted edamame in a quiet, organized space naturally encourages a child to sit and eat mindfully. Decluttering the kitchen removes sensory overload. It strips away the visual noise and friction that actively block a child's ability to pay attention. By simplifying the physical space, parents automatically amplify their child's natural curiosity, allowing their innate, calm energy to easily bubble to the surface. These biological, psychological, and environmental layers integrate into a unified practice for long-term focus. It is driven by the concept of Omoiyari, or empathy and deep consideration for others. From this perspective, the daily preparation of food is not a chore to be rushed through. It is a direct reflection of the hard work and sacrifice that sustains us. Embracing these intentional, quiet rhythms teaches children a profound lesson about the connection between their physical health and their mental clarity. Sharp focus and emotional resilience cannot be demanded or forced from the outside. They must always start from within. A shift at the dinner table stabilizes blood sugar while simultaneously teaching children to navigate the world with a calm, capable, and deeply focused mindset. We are giving them the necessary tools to grow into their full potential.